Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Unitarian Congregation of Mendon and Uxbridge. My name is Matthew Marion, and I'm pleased to welcome back and to bring us back into our service with Reverend Patricia Hatch. I'm going to be starting off today with our hymn, Gather in Spirit, number 347, and ending off the service today with Meditation by Antonio Carlos Jobim. Thank you.
Good morning, and welcome again to the Unitarian Congregation of Mendon and Uxbridge. Welcome to you, wherever you're viewing this service from, whenever you're viewing this service. Today's opening words are by Leslie Takahashi. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stand with us on the edge of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a deeper joy in this life that we share. And now we will light the chalice. The chalice lighting is from the UU Fellowship of Harrisonburg, Virginia. We gather around this flame that symbolizes the truth we know and the truth we seek, the community we share and the community we aspire to, the learning that enables us, and the mystery that encompasses. Here we speak the languages of memory and of hope. Here we are welcomed, our journeys embraced and shared. Please join me for the unison affirmation of this congregation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Typically in a service, we would have joys and concerns at this time and light candles for those things that are on our hearts and minds. In this virtual format, we will light candles for those things at the end of the service, and you are invited to send in your joys and concerns and milestones over the live stream chat or in the contact form on the web page. Our opening hymn today is called Just as Long as I Have Breath, and I will read one stanza, number 6 in the hymnal. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, I will tell them I said yes to life. share a poem this morning. It's entitled Times Square Dance by Bob Janice Dillon. Times Square Dance. Time happens so quickly. By the time something is happening, it feels like it's almost already over. One moment links arms with the next, spinning in Times Square dance. Each moment too gallant to refuse as the next moment taps their way in. Of course, your turn, my dear, says the present to the future, and wanders off to the sidelines, standing there in the poorly lit hallway of nostalgia, waxing rhapsodic to its bubbles, waxing rhapsodic to its buddies about what was and what could have been over cold punch and cookies, reminiscing about what was and what could have been over cold punch and cookies. Times Square Dance. It is now time for the call for the offering and offertory. We invite you to give via the PayPal link on the live stream chat or send in checks the old-fashioned way. We appreciate so much your contributions to keep the doors of this church open and to keep the light shining in the Menden-Uxbridge wider area, the voice of liberal, religious faith, and hope and good in the world. So thank you so much for those who give of their time, of their talent, and of their treasure. The offertory is a well-beloved hymn called Come Sing a Song with Me. And it goes a little like this. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the wintertime. I'd like to invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. This time we'll have three parts. I will pray a spoken pastoral prayer. I will play my singing bowl as we continue in that spirit of prayer and meditation, and then Matt will play Spirit of Life. My spoken prayer today will have two parts. The first part is from the 8th century man, Alcuin of York. And then I would like to give a time where you can offer up your own prayers or visualizations or good energy for yourself, for your loved ones, for your community, for your world, for your planet. In ever wider circles, I'll invite you to pray or visualize or send good energy to each circle as it grows bigger. But first, the prayer. O eternal light, shine into our hearts. Eternal goodness, deliver us from despair. Eternal power, be you our support. Eternal wisdom, scatter our ignorance. Spirit of life and love, we lift up our hearts this morning. We lift up our hearts for ourselves, for others, for our world. All the big circles of life we move in. First, we think of ourselves. We recall our many blessings. And we think of those things in our lives that need a bit of attention. We lift up our loved ones. We thank you for them, our loved ones and dear friends. May they be well. May they have what they need. May they be blessed. We think of those in our church community here. We think of those who we know of who are in need of prayer or good energy, or those that we don't know of. We lift up our community and those individuals. And now we think of our local area, Mendon, Uxbridge, Douglas, Hopedale, Providence, and nearby towns. We think of all our neighbors in our local areas who are struggling. Our friends or those our friends we haven't met yet, or other neighbors. We think of them and we lift up our hearts on their behalf. And now we think of our country, divided for a long time with many problems. Now we have new leadership. We lift up our hearts for our country. Whatever our feelings are, let us unite together in sending good energy for our country and for our country's leaders, that they would make good decisions. Now we think of our world. We think of the multitude of people living, dying, struggling, playing, working jobs, and working for change, creating. We lift up all our fellow neighbors on this world. And finally, we think of our planet, our beautiful planet. We give thanks for such a wonderful, amazing place to live in. Not just for the people, we lift up our hearts for the planet, but the whole planet that gives us life and that we share life with. All the creatures that walk and hop and swim and fly and crawl. All the plants, from the tall redwoods to the smallest algae and microscopic plants. And we ask that we be better stewards of our planet. We lift up our whole planet, the interconnected web that we live in, and with thankfulness we say, Amen. May it be so. Thank you. Memories enable us to hold the stories of who we are and to even help us imagine the future. Memories and the stories we make from them are part of what makes us human. You may know that you are much more likely to remember things that had a strong emotional impact on you. If you felt elation, sorrow, disgust, pain, shame, remorse, amazement, or another strong feeling, you will probably remember the feeling and the incident that prompted it for a long time, maybe even the rest of your life. This is something for all of us to remember, as we can affect someone's life for years if we do something that causes them to feel a strong emotion. Maya Angelou said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." I'd like to share a few interesting things about memories. One from my life. I only have a few clear memories from before when I was about 7 years old. I lived in one place my entire childhood, whereas my youngest daughter has many, many memories of before she was 5 years old. At that time, our family moved across the country when she had just turned 5. So she has so many memories of before the move, when she was 4 years old or younger. I think that she has those memories because changing places marked a clear line in her mind of before and after the move. Whereas I never moved as a child, so all my childhood memories were much more likely to blur together. At least that's my theory, anyway. Another interesting thing is about how memory and imagination are related. David Robson wrote, "Memory researchers are starting to believe that human memory didn't evolve so that we could remember, but to allow us to imagine what might be." Endel Tuving discovered a person with amnesia who could remember facts, but not episodic memories relating to past events in his life. Crucially, when the researcher asked him about his plans for the future, whether the plans would be for this evening or next summer, the man's mind went blank, leaving Tuving to suspect that foresight was the flip side of episodic memory. And furthermore, he suspected that the evolution of memory happened to allow us to imagine what might be in the future. Memory is an active process. We have the power to remember, and we have the power to use our memories to shape our lives in the present and for the future. People who have researched memories tell us that memories are not static, like files in a file cabinet. Instead, when we think of a memory, we are actually remembering the last time we remembered it. Thus, when we call up memories, we are actually recreating them. Have you ever had the experience of remembering something happening one way, and then later on, something made you realize that some aspect of your memory was actually incorrect? This can happen as memories are really stories we tell ourselves, and we are open to suggestions from internal and external sources. Maybe someone told you something that happened when you were a child. After you heard the story, you conjured up a memory about it. You may actually remember the thing that was told to you. Or you may have a vague impression, and then you filled in details based on someone else's telling. Or you may even confuse the story for your own memory when you think about it later. Any of these things could happen. I imagine my earliest memory is recalling a feature of my maternal grandmother's house. She died before I was 3. However, I have conjured up this memory in my mind so many times, trying to remember my grandmother that I didn't know. So this feature of her house that I feel like I have a vague memory of, I don't know if it's a true memory or if I just saw a photo of the house, or someone mentioned to me the house had this feature and I simply imagined I could remember it. Human beings are complicated and memories are not straightforward. Here is a story from a woman named Pat Schneider. She describes sitting with her mother as her mother was dying, and her mother told her stories, various bits of memories of her life. Her mother shared, "Sometimes I am awake to hear the late night train. Its wail a long sound tunnel back to another time, another place. 1934. Early March in southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. The air cold, the night wind hard in the open doorway of a boxcar headed south toward Louisiana." Pat said, "My mother told me this in the winter of her dying. Always she had said my father was just no good." Her Ozark accent persisting to the end, a woman washed and rinsed the clothes. And a man who didn't treat a woman right was just no good. The mother went on to say, "It was the heart of the Depression. I never did tell this to anyone. I was so ashamed. We wanted to go see Papa and Mama down in Louisiana, but we didn't have any money. So we rode the rails. One night, a man in the boxcar with us said, 'If you all know what's good for you, you'll jump right now.' We were scared. We jumped. And me, 6 months pregnant with you. Isn't that awful?" My mother, Pat said, still lay there on her high hospital bed. The wedding ring quilt she had pieced when her eyes were still good was pulled up around her shoulders. Pat said, "What made me sad listening to the story was the strangeness of my mother's not saying he was just no good. For the first time in her 86 years that I knew of, she said, 'He was good to me then. I was cold, and we were sleeping on the ground. He covered me with leaves.'" He covered her, covered me with leaves. Human beings are complex. We all carry a complicated array of memories. out of this array, the things we think on frequently seem to become closer to solid in our remembering. And out of our memories, we create stories, sometimes just for ourselves and sometimes for others. The woman in this story told her daughter one painful story all her life, and a little different story, more nuanced, at the end of her life. We all carry pain and tenderness, grief and joy, regret and satisfaction. How can we use our memories to bring us more wholeness? Here are a few practices we can do. First, I'd like to invite you to think of a memory you have of a time when you felt good, when you felt healthy, when you felt peaceful, when you felt well, when you felt content. Let's all think of a time. It could be this morning. It could be when you were a small child, or any time in between. Maybe you were out in nature. Maybe it was a happy memory with your family. Could be any happy memory. Let's hold on to that memory. Remember how you felt and where you were at that time. You can always go back to this memory. Author Rick Hansen, Dr. Rick Hansen, shares an insight about how we can link positive and negative memories to help us deal with the feelings around some of our more negative memories. Of course, self-practices can be very helpful, but nothing takes the place of therapy when that is needed. Dr. Hansen said, "Sometimes I'd be aware of two things at once, such as feeling appreciated in the front of my awareness and with a sense of worthlessness off to the side. Both things in my awareness. And when this happened, it would feel like the positive material was touching and going into the negative material, gradually filling up the empty spaces inside and soothing old wounds." Dr. Hansen learned that linking is a powerful method of the brain, learning by association. When two things are held in awareness at the same time, they affect each other. The key is to make sure what's beneficial stays more prominent than what's painful or harmful. Then the positive will purify the negative rather than the negative contaminating the positive. You can try this with your memory that I asked you to think of a moment ago when you felt peaceful and good. You can try linking that memory in your mind next time you feel like you're having some negative experiences or emotions. Keep that positive thing in your mind as you're experiencing these other things. Because as humans, we have a negativity bias, we tend to focus more on stressful and negative experiences. But with practice, we can bring the positive experiences and feelings more in the forefront of our mind. As Dr. Hansen says, we can use our mind to use flowers to pull weeds. We can use this linking in our own minds to become more peaceful, more positive, more productive. Another practice I want to share with you, it's a self-compassion practice that I created. I mentioned it to you in a sermon last summer. When you think of something you regret, something that you did or said that you wish you hadn't, or you think of something you wish you had done, you can say, "I forgive my younger self," or "I am compassionate toward my younger self." By noting that it was your younger self who was responsible, you're acknowledging that you know more now, even if what you know is simply that you now know how you feel about what you did or didn't do. This works. This practice helps, even if your younger self acted only a month ago, or a week, or even an hour ago. I invite you to try that out. One more practice. Finally, in this time of the pandemic, among other losses, many of us are feeling the loss of places we can't visit and experiences we can't have. We can use this time to savor the memories of the times we could do those things and we could visit those places. And we can also use this time to visualize what it will be like to do them in the future. Part of good things happening is the joy of anticipating them. And so we can put our memories and our forward-thinking thoughts to good use to bring us happiness. Both savoring our past experiences and looking forward with anticipation to future good times can help us be happier in the present moment. We can change how we frame our memories and our stories at any time. This is a privilege and a responsibility of being human. We are the storytellers of our lives, the keepers of memory, and the visionaries of our futures. Amen, and blessed be. It is now time in the service where we light candles of joy and concern. First, we have two from David Lowell. A joy, it's daughter Susan's birthday today. Happy birthday, Susan. And joy, a pileated woodpecker was seen in our yard this week. It's always great to see those birds that we don't see too often. More joys. 2 candles of joy from the Bouchard family. A candle of joy for Sonia's first vaccine shot. Yay. And also Sam's acceptance into RPI architecture program from Ben, Celia, and Ken. Congratulations, Sam. And finally, from Leslie Cape, a candle of joy for the warmth of community on a cold winter morning. That is something to celebrate, Leslie. And I'll light the final candle for those things that remain unspoken in our hearts and minds. I have 2 announcements this morning. We will have a virtual coffee hour via Zoom after the service at 11:45. And I believe Ken is putting up the link in the live stream chat. And it has been sent out in the email. The day before last, I sent it out to our email list. But you can also find it in the live stream chat, and I hope you can join us for our Zoom coffee hour. Bring your own coffee and treats, and let us gather in community in this way. Also, I wanted to share that the board has decided that we will now be collecting donations for the Milford Community Meals Program. So we have a box set up in the entryway, and you can drop things off on Sunday mornings when the doors are open, or you can make arrangements with me or with another board member or person who has a key, and we can help support those people in the greater Milford community who are food insecure, including some homeless folks. So the Milford Community Meals is a partnership of 5, I think now with our help, with 6 churches in the greater Milford area. On Thursday evenings, or afternoons, they're providing grab-and-go meals during this time of COVID. Typically, they cook some of the meals, but right now it's grab-and-go meals. So we are collecting donations of food. They especially need things like soups and chilies and pastas and cans, especially with pop-top lids, breakfast foods like small boxes of cereal and small boxes of shelf-stable milk and water bottles, and because they're trying to provide a couple meals for these grab-and-go, so like an evening meal and a breakfast meal. So we're collecting those, and we'll bring those over and share those with people. Also, you can also donate things like socks and mittens and hats, too, and they'll be happy to put those out for people who may need them. Okay, we will now extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the flame of hope, the light of commitment, or the warmth of community. These we carry with us until we gather again. Hope to see you at the coffee hour. Go in peace, and let your memories and your anticipations be blessings for you and for the world. Go in peace. And let us say the Serenity Prayer together, as is the tradition of this congregation. The words should also be in the live stream chat, I believe. Thank you, Ken. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.